Okay, in this video we'll be covering how to deform a road based on the deformation of a terrain that is under it. So we'll show two techniques to do that. The first one using the conform compound object, and the second one using the skin wrap modifier. So to start with, we're going to select this path here that's on top of the just suspended in the air here, and we're going to create a loft based on the shape that we have here. So it's a very simple operation. Go back here in the primitives, and instead of using standard primitive, we're going to use compound objects, and one of them here is called loft. And in the loft here you can get either the path or the shape, but since we have the path of the loft, we want to get the shape which is here. So just go here and click get shape, and click on that shape to generate the shape. The skin parameter is important because we want the geometry that is on top here to be pretty much matching in terms of resolution the geometry that's under it. So let's go here in skin parameters. If we reset the shape steps, we can see that it reduced the number of polygons that we have on the lateral side. So if I increase it a couple of times, maybe 2, maybe 3, you know, it's going to pretty much match what we have under it. And path steps to 16, it's good. Actually, I've done this before, so it's 16. But if you start to 1, you're going to get very low resolution, and if you increase up to maybe 15, you're going to get enough resolution to be able to deform based on what's under it. So it's very important to match the geometry. Once it's done, the geometry resolution, and once it's done, you want to go back to your primitives, compound objects, and then you want to select the conform primitives. And what the conform primitive will do, first of all, we'll select, we don't want to make an instance of it, we just want to move the geometry from there to there. Then we have to pick up a wrap object. That means that this object will be projected or will be pushed from the viewpoint, the point of view of the viewport, and it's going to be pushed toward the other geometry. So if you want to project in that direction, we would just place the viewport here and push that geometry until it meets this one. So that's what we want to do. But if we want to project a road like this, the simplest way is just to go into top view, and if we look at the parameters of the conform here, we can see that it's using the active viewport. So if the top viewport is active, it's going to use this one to calculate the projection, and then we're ready to do the projection. So I'm going to go here and select wrap to object, and when I'm going to pick it, it's going to do some calculation, and then this one will be projected onto the terrain that's under it. So we'll let it calculate for a second, and it's now ready. So now we've got the road, and it has been projected from the top point of view. So it's good for a road on a terrain, but it can be anything. If you're modeling a character and you want to match you know, an accessory or an item on the clothing, on the cloth, or anything, an armor or whatever, to the body itself, you can use the conform, and that could be a good tool to do that kind of stuff. So that's method number 1. Very easy to do, to set up, but the drawback of this is that it's a one-step operation, which means that if the terrain is modified, you have to reproject again. It's not that bad, but it's something to think about when you want to modify the terrain that's under it. The second method that we're going to take a look at is using the skin wrap modifier. So that's the opposite, is that we're going to start with a flat plane, and we're going to modify it, and we're going to make sure that the road follows the deformation of the terrain. And to do that, we're going to use the skin wrap modifier. So the first thing, we're going to do the same operation as we did before. We're going to go and select the path and go into loft and get the shape, and the shape is right here. So we now have the road created, and since we used the loft before, the parameters of the loft for the skin should be pretty much the same. So if I take a look at it, we've got 3 and 15, so that's pretty good, and that should deform correctly. And on top of the loft, I'm going to apply a skin wrap modifier. And the skin wrap will deform the road that is here based on the deformation of another geometry in the scene, and we're going to use the flat plane as being the deformer. First of all, we have to set the threshold in the skin wrap. 2 is good for here, so I'm going to leave it at 2. The idea of the threshold is how far is going to look for information about the geometry that has to deform or conform to. So let's go add the plane. It's going to calculate for a few seconds, and now the plane 0, 1, which is the geometry that's here, will be deforming the road as well. So let's go back to the plane. It's an editable poly, and in editable poly we've got the plane deformation, which is pretty cool. I'm going to set the value here to be maybe around 5, and go and push and pull. Maybe increase the size of the brush. Not too much. And there we go. So now I'm just going to zoom in on it so we can see, and I'm going to start painting the deformation. And as you can see, as I'm deforming the plane itself, the road is following the deformation. What's good about it is that if I don't like the terrain deformation, I can still go and edit it and make any modification that I want, and the road will be following. And what's good about this technique as well is I can deform using the skin wrap. I can deform a path, and that path could be also used for animation if you want a card to follow that path. So that's a very, very good technique, and I'm using Alt here to just create some holes into the geometry, and as you can see, the road is following. So those are the two techniques that I had to cover. First one using the conform compound object, and the second one using the skin wrap modifier to do that operation of putting a road and deforming it on the base of a terrain that's under it. So you can use it on multiple occasions in your modeling workflow.